Hello, I would like to talk to you about cost of quality. This is chapter 17 in your text, so focus on pages 699 to 708, the 10 pages that talk about the cost of quality report. There's quiz and homework. Quiz is 10 multiple choice questions, and the homework is 2 problems. I'm also going to have, probably in the next few days, a practice exam and a review sheet for the final. Most of you are doing pretty good in the course, so I encourage you to keep your studying up. You're doing a good job. So I've enjoyed the course. You guys are, I think, learning a lot. So first, let's talk about the four types of quality costs and how they interact. All right, then the four quality costs are internal, external failure, prevention costs, and appraisal costs. So quality of conformance are costs that we encourage to prevent defects or that may result from defects in products. And these are quality costs. And many companies, of course, are trying to reduce these quality costs, particularly the ones that, such as external failure costs or internal failure costs, that have no value added. Okay. Overwhelming majority of products produce conform to design specifications and normally are free from defects. So the prevention and appraisal costs are costs that we have to reduce defects, both those that are caught inside the plant or external failure, which are ones that occur outside the plant. So prevention costs actually is a value-added quality cost. So it does support activities whose purpose is to reduce the number of defects. So for instance, building a new system that can catch errors before they occur would be a prevention cost. Appraisal cost is not value added, and that would be someone that is testing or someone that is involved in trying to find failure. So the failure has already occurred and they're trying to find that failure, where a prevention cost might be a new system that we're building that can prevent an error from occurring in the production process. Internal failure costs is when we find a problem, but it doesn't get to the customer. So it's incurred, we find the defect in the plant, but the customer does not find out about it. We may rework that product, okay, or we may throw away that product. Whatever happens, there is a cost involved in that, a cost in reworking or a cost in eliminating that product. External failure cost, of course, is the worst kind, and that would be a cost that occurs outside the plant. So someone finds our error and they take it back, they return the product. So a warranty charge or a recall would be an external failure cost, and a lost sale. So they have a problem with maybe their automobile, and it had maybe some defects where there was a recall or a series of recalls. It's like, well, I don't want to be buy a product where there's so many recalls, so I'll go to a different brand. Here are some examples of quality costs, and your book has several more. But prevention, good training, quality circles, where basically we talk about quality and how to prevent problems from occurring. Statistical process control would be another example. It's a system that allows us to prevent defects from occurring. All right, appraisal, testing and inspecting materials, so that's non-value added, but we can find maybe a problem in the incoming materials. Final product testing and depreciation of testing equipment. All those, of course, are non-value added, but they might be needed. You might have appraisal costs, for instance, testing and inspecting the product after it's completed. Final product testing might be part of the contract that you sign with your customer. Internal failure costs are things like scrap, spoilage, rework, very expensive. We have an error, we catch the error before it gets to the customer. And then external failure costs would be warranties, lost sales, cost of field servicing. Someone has a problem, we're going to go out to motor broke down, engine broke down, we're going to go out to their plant and fix that for them. It's part of the servicing complaint. It might be part of a service contract that we have with them. Distribution of quality costs. So as we have more prevention and appraisal costs that should reduce your internal and external failure costs. At a certain point, the amount of this may flatten out. Total quality costs may flatten out. That at a certain point, another dollar spent on, say, prevention or appraisal would bring you back a return of less than $1 on external failure and internal failure. So it flattens, but we might be a firm that because of the contract, we may have to have an objective of 0 defects for that product being produced. So we may end up, where these internal and external failure costs, where these internal and external failure costs and the prevention and appraisal costs, where these intersect, right here, this point here, of course, is your lowest quality cost. But we may say, well, okay, we still want to spend money on prevention and appraisal, even if it brings us, $1 spent on prevention and appraisal might bring back less than $1 on internal and or external failure costs because we're working towards 0 defects. All right, and then cost of quality report. This is an example of a cost of quality report. So we have year 1 and year 2. Looks like in year 1, 1.3% of total quality costs is spent on prevention. We increased that to 2% here, and we increased the appraisal from 2.4 to 3% in hopes that our external and internal failure costs will be reduced. So we have a pretty bad external failure costs, 10.3% of total costs. 10.3% of sales is a external failure cost, so that's pretty bad. Total quality costs are 18% of sales. So this is pretty negative. So we decide in year 2 to spend more on prevention, spend more on appraisal, and look what happens. Our internal failure went up. So what that means is that some of the external errors now have turned into internal errors. We're catching the errors before they leave the plant. And external failure decreased from 10.3% to 4%. All right, so total internal and external failure was 14.3%. If you add, we had 4% for year 1, 10.3% for year 1 for internal external failure. Went down to 10%, 6 plus 4. And it looks like a couple things are happening. We have reduced the number of errors, and we have also reduced some of the external failure costs have, I think, turned into internal failure costs. So it's normally the first thing that happens. You have more appraisal, more testing and so forth, and we can catch the errors before they get to the customer. We can also prepare quality costs in graphic format, and this is the same report I just showed you on the previous page, showing that we have reduced external failure. We have reduced the total of total failure, and external and internal failure added together has now been reduced from year 1 to year 2. We have increased appraisal and prevention, which is why external failure has decreased. The internal failure, I guess internal failure also went up. So internal failure did increase because some of the external failures are turning into internal failures. Internal failures are still bad. It's still a failure, but it's better to have an internal failure than an external failure. All right, some uses of the quality cost information. We can see the financial significance of defects as a percentage of sales. Helps us manage the importance of quality problems and helps managers see whether or not the quality costs are distributed appropriately. So what you want is very little external failure, more prevention, more appraisal. You probably don't want a lot of internal failure as well, because that means there's something wrong with your process, right? There's something wrong with that internal process. Some limitations, and just reporting on the quality cost is not going to solve any quality problems. So we need to be proactive and try to find ways to prevent those errors from occurring, the internal and external failures from occurring. The results, the report might just be monthly or quarterly, and so it's going to lag behind the quality improvement programs. The most important quality cost, the opportunity cost of lost sales, is often omitted from quality cost reports simply because it's very difficult to measure that cost and find out what it really is. ISO 9000 standards. This is a measure of quality. Here are some ways we can become ISO 9000 certified. Must have a good quality control system in use. System must be fully operational, and the intended level of quality is being achieved. Normally, you have to document your results from these programs, and they're going to be audited in order to see whether or not you're in compliance with these ISO 9000 standards. All right, well, that's pretty quick. A pretty quick lecture, but the quiz and the homework is up. So take a look at those, and I will talk to you next week. And also look for the practice test. That should be up shortly. Thank you.